Hello, everyone. Tonight, we are standing at the edge of a world so cold that even your breath freezes before it leaves your mouth. Before you, a herd of mammoths shifts uneasily, their massive forms silhouetted against a sky bruised purple by the setting sun. The ice of the river groans beneath them, the first crack of winter daring these giants to cross. You probably won't survive this fierce journey between the cold, the ice, and the sheer bad luck of existing in this time period. Your odds aren't great. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And hey, post in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You shuffle along, boots crunching softly over the frostbitten grass as you follow behind the herd. The lead mammoth, taller than your hut back home, lifts its trunk high, testing the air for dangers you can't see. You can hear its breath, a soft wheeze that steams in the frigid twilight. Its tusks are so wide they seem to scrape the very horizon. Every few moments, the ground gives a subtle tremor as these ancient beasts shift their massive weight. And then there it is, the first river crossing. Frozen solid, or so you hope. The ice stretches out like glass, hiding the dark current beneath. The mammoths hesitate. You do too. You'd probably be wise to turn around, but here you are. Historians still debate whether mammoths crossed these frozen rivers as a unified group or if smaller family clusters risked it alone. What's clear as you stand here shivering is that no one is in a hurry. The matriarch steps forward first, her padded feet tentative on the ice, and a groan rises from deep beneath like the river resenting this invasion of its peace. You'd like to say you're brave, but even your teeth are chattering too loudly for courage to get a word in. It's so quiet that you notice everything. The drip of meltwater from an icicle, the sudden scurry of a vole disturbed by the mammoth's approach, even the faintest crackle as the frost creeps along the brittle reeds at the river's edge. You blink, and there's a glimmer of movement. Nothing dramatic, just the subtle shifting of massive legs as the herd begins its slow, deliberate march onto the ice. The matriarch's ears flap once as if annoyed by the wind, or perhaps signaling to the others follow. Did you know mammoths had adaptations for the cold that would put your modern winter gear to shame? Their undercoat was denser than any parka you could buy, and their ears were smaller than their tropical cousins, conserving heat. The herd's smallest members cling close to the flanks of the bigger ones, seeking shelter from the wind that sneaks between the tusks like a pickpocket. You glance down and notice something odd. A perfectly preserved fish trapped just below the ice, its glassy eyes staring up at you in permanent surprise. Oddly enough, ancient fish sometimes survived in a sort of suspended animation in these icy rivers, waiting for the thaw. Not that it helps this one, it looks like it's been here a while, forgotten by time. The mammoth's footfalls seem louder now, or maybe it's just your nerves making everything sharper. The ice creaks beneath them, low and mournful, as if the river is telling an old story you can't quite hear. You watch as the herd forms a line, single file, instinctively spreading out the weight across the dangerous surface. Smart move. You try to step in their tracks, hoping they know better than you where the ice is strongest. A gust of wind comes up the valley, biting through your layers, like they're made of paper. It carries with it the smell of pine and something else, something older. Maybe it's just the cold playing tricks on your nose, but it smells like stone dust and mammoth musk, ancient and earthy. You wish not for the first time that you'd stayed by the fire tonight. But here you are chasing shadows and silent giants across the ice. The matriarch pauses midstream, trunk raised again. You swear she's listening. To what? The ice. The river below, or some deeper ancestral memory of crossings past? Historians still debate whether mammoth migrations followed consistent ancient trails or adapted with the changing climate. Either way, the matriarch seems to know this way lies survival, and then a sound that makes your heart skip a sharp crack somewhere to your right. Not under the mammoths, no, but close enough to remind you that this crossing is anything but safe. The herd doesn't break stride. They move as if the ice itself bends to their will. You're not so sure. One of the mammoths passes so near you could reach out and touch its shaggy flank. Its fur is matted with frost and icicles hang like beads from the curve of its tusks. You resist the urge to say something ridiculous like, "Nice night for it, huh?" Because honestly, it's not. The sun dips lower. The ice beneath your feet glows faintly blue in the half-light, and you realize just how far there is still to go. The far bank feels like another world. The wind shifts again, carrying the lonely call of a wolf somewhere distant, and you wonder, not for the first time tonight, whether you'll make it across. The matriarch leads on and you follow in her shadow, watching as frost begins to weave delicate lacework across her enormous tusks. Each breath she exhales crystallizes in the air, tiny shards of ice drifting down to join the white world beneath her feet. The cold is so sharp it stings your nostrils and your eyelashes clump together with rime. The mammoths don't seem to notice. This is their element. Frost clings to their tusks like jewelry, nature's adornment for the mighty. You trudge after them, your own steps clumsy compared to their graceful plodding. The ice beneath you is dusted with fresh powder, hiding its treacherous cracks and dips. The mammoths know where to place their feet. You, on the other hand, probably look like someone trying to ice skate for the first time without skates balance or dignity. A mammoth calf glances back at you with what can only be described as mild amusement. Yes, you're being judged by a baby mammoth. Let that sink in. Historians still debate whether mammoths' tusks served mainly as tools for digging through snow or as weapons against predators. Tonight, they seem more like badges of survival, curved and ancient, etched with lines that tell stories no human will ever fully understand. The frost highlights every groove, every chip, making them appear even grander if that's possible. You feel small just walking behind them. The wind picks up, pulling at your hood and making your ears ache with cold. It carries the faint scent of wood smoke, though you see no fire, no sign of life. Just ice sky and the endless backs of the mammoths ahead. Somewhere hidden in the folds of that wind comes a memory of warmth, your fire back at camp, the crackle of kindling, the comfort of something hot in your hands. Too bad you left it behind for this little adventure. You notice now how the frost doesn't just cling to the tusks, but forms feathery patterns along the mammoth's fur, as if the cold itself is trying to claim them. But these giants belong here. Their thick undercoats trap heat better than any modern jacket. Mammoth hair has even been found perfectly preserved in permafrost, so dense and oily that it repelled water and kept them warm through the worst ice age nights. Imagine that your winter coat's still doing its job 10,000 years after you're gone. Your boot slips and you barely catch yourself on a gnarled willow branch frozen into the ice. For a second, your heart pounds so loudly you're sure the mammoths can hear it. The matriarch glances back, her small eye catching the last of the light, and for a moment you swear she understands your clumsiness. Or maybe she just thinks you're another creature to shepherd across this frozen world. An odd thing to note, but did you know that frost flowers, tiny, delicate ice formations, sometimes bloom on sea ice and frozen rivers? They form when moisture meets cold air and crystallizes instantly, creating a field of fragile ice blossoms. And here, scattered between mammoth prints, you see them tiny white petals that crunch underfoot the world's coldest garden. The mammoths continue in silence, save for the soft scrape of their feet on snow, and the occasional rattle of ice as their tusks brush low-hanging branches. The frost deepens, turning the world silver. The moon rises behind thin clouds, casting a pale glow that makes the ice seem to stretch forever. You can no longer see the far bank. Only the herd's steady progress reassures you that it must still be out there. Historians still debate whether mammoth herds moved faster at night to avoid predators or slower to conserve energy. Tonight, the pace is measured deliberate. The matriarch seems in no hurry, as if she knows the ice won't last forever, and every step must be chosen wisely. You match your steps to hers, hoping to borrow some of that ancient wisdom. A sharp, biting gust rattles through the valley, and for a heartbeat you think you hear voices, whispers, carried on the wind. But it's just the ice settling, shifting under the mammoth's weight. Or so you tell yourself. The cold plays tricks on your ears as easily as it numbs your fingers. The frost grows heavier still, coating not just tusks and fur, but your own eyebrows and lashes, making you blink against the cold. You can feel it creeping through your boots, chilling your toes. Maybe this is why mammoths had those thick, cushiony foot pads to insulate against the endless winter beneath them. You try not to think about how thin your boots feel in comparison. One of the mammoths near the rear pauses to brush its tusks against a frozen shrub, scraping off snow. You catch a glimpse of the frost pattern left behind, intricate and fleeting. It reminds you of something, maybe the lace your grandmother once made, or the frost that formed on the window of your childhood home during winter storms, brief, beautiful, and gone in a moment. The river groans softly under the weight of the herd, a deep, resonant sound that seems to come from the earth itself. It's a reminder that the ice, for all its strength, is not invincible. The matriarch tests the ground again, trunk sweeping low. Satisfied, she leads onward. You follow. Because really, what choice do you have? The frost clings tighter with every step, but the far bank calls to you, hidden beyond the curtain of snow and moonlight. You shift your weight cautiously as you watch the mammoth calf ahead of you take a nervous step onto a patch of ice so clear it looks like a window into the dark river below. Its little legs, though still thicker than your torso, tremble ever so slightly, the muscles working overtime to steady its bulk. The calf lifts one foot, hesitates, then plants it down again with a soft thud that echoes far too loudly for comfort. For a second, it freezes, ears flicking, eyes wide, as if the entire world is holding its breath just for this moment. You can't help but feel for the little thing. Here it is, born into a world where one wrong step could mean disaster, learning the art of survival on ice that hums beneath its feet. You think of your own first wobbly steps on an ice rink. Though, let's be real, nobody was expecting you to weigh as much as a small car while doing it. The calf glances at its mother, who pauses, trunk extended gently, as if offering invisible encouragement. You half expect her to whisper, "You've got this, kid." Historians still debate whether mammoth calves stayed at the center of the herd during migrations, or whether they were allowed to explore the margins as they grew braver. What you see tonight suggests a bit of both. The calf ventures just far enough to test itself, but stays close enough to the protective circle of adults that any danger would be met with a wall of tusks. It's a lesson in independence wrapped in a blanket of ancient instinct. The ice beneath your feet suddenly groans a deep, almost musical note that rises and fades into the night. You freeze in more ways than one and glance down. The ice is thick, but even the thickest ice can hide weaknesses. A few meters ahead, you see hairline cracks spidering out beneath the calf's feet, and your breath catches in your throat. The calf senses it too. It shifts its weight, eyes wide, and for a terrifying moment you think it might panic. But then slowly, carefully, it lifts its foot and finds surer ground, following in the deep, deliberate tracks left by its mother. Did you know mammoth calves were born with a thick coat of woolly hair ready to face the cold from day one? Modern elephants may splash in water holes, but this little one was practically built to wade through blizzards and ice storms. And yet, for all that natural insulation, the cold tonight is enough to make even a mammoth calf shiver. Your own feet feel like blocks of ice inside your boots, and your fingers are so stiff you can barely curl them. The cold creeps up your spine like an unwelcome guest at a party. You want to keep your eyes on the calf, but the wind lashes your face, forcing you to squint against the stinging snow. The world is shrinking, the far shore lost in the white blur, the only solid reality, the mammoths ahead and the groaning ice below. A random thought crosses your mind, something you once heard about polar explorers. Some carried tiny mirrors to check their noses for frostbite, because by the time your skin goes numb, it might already be too late. You glance at the calf again and wonder how these creatures, young and old, endure this endless winter with nothing but fur, fat, and instinct. You, with all your layers and gear, are losing the fight. The mammoths. They walk as if the cold is an old friend. The calf slips again, just a little skid this time, and emits a soft trumpeting squeak that tugs at your heartstrings. Its mother answers with a low rumble, a sound so deep it seems to vibrate through the ice itself. The calf moves closer, pressing against her side, and you see the tension ease from its small woolly body. The mother glances around, ever watchful, ever patient, before moving forward, guiding her child across the treacherous surface. Historians still debate whether mammoth mothers communicated danger to their young through low-frequency sounds inaudible to human ears. You'd believe it tonight. That rumble felt like more than comfort. It felt like a command, a promise. Stay close. I will keep you safe. You take a cautious step forward, following their tracks, trying to match their rhythm. The calf glances at you again, and for a moment it's as if you're part of the herd, another strange, clumsy creature on this migration across the frozen world. Then it looks away, focused once more on its mother, on survival, on the long journey ahead. The wind dies down just for a moment, and the silence is profound. No cracking ice, no howling gusts, just the soft crunch of mammoth feet on snow. The calf walks with more confidence now, its steps more sure, its head held a little higher. It's learning step by step how to cross a world made of ice. And you take another careful step, feeling the ice flex beneath you. The cold bite a little deeper and the night close in a little tighter. But the far bank is out there somewhere. You can almost feel it calling. You edge forward, eyes drawn to the strange play of shadows beneath the ice. The moonlight, pale and weary, glints off the frozen surface, and beneath it something moves, or at least you think it does. At first you tell yourself it's just the river's ancient current winding dark threads through the ice's veins. But no, these shapes have form, they twist and flicker like phantoms, as if spirits are trapped down there watching the mammoths cross their cold domain. The mammoth matriarch pauses again, her trunk sweeping the air, tasting it for threats you cannot see. Maybe she senses what you do, that eerie feeling that something stirs beneath beyond waiting. Historians still debate whether ancient peoples viewed rivers as living beings with souls, guardians, or dangers to appease. Tonight it's easy to see how those myths began. The ice groans again long and low, and the shapes shift in rhythm with the sound. Your skin prickles as if some part of you knows these shadows don't belong to fish or logs or trapped air bubbles. The calf, still sticking close to its mother, pauses, two ears flicking at the ice. It stares down, trunk brushing the surface. For a heartbeat, you swear you see its reflection meet its gaze, two wide-eyed faces peering into the deep, one of wool and one of water. The herd moves with solemn grace, the weight of history in every step. Beneath them, the river whispers its secrets through the cracks and creaks of the ice. You wonder how many crossings this river has seen, how many herds, how many winters, how many near tragedies averted by a few careful steps. Did you know ancient rivers sometimes froze in layers, trapping air pockets that could make the ice groan like it was alive? That's what you hear now, the frozen breath of the river sighing beneath the mammoth's feet. You catch yourself staring too long at the shapes below and nearly miss a hidden ridge of ice that sends you stumbling. Your foot hits the slick surface, slides, and for one terrifying second, you think you'll fall flat on your back. But you somehow manage a graceless recovery, flailing like a bird that forgot how to fly. Somewhere probably a mammoth is judging you. Again, the matriarch steps onto a patch where the ice looks thicker, clouded with trapped snow and old fractures sealed by time. The shadows beneath fade there, hidden by the ice's milky shield. One by one, the herd follows her path, trusting in her instinct, her memory of crossings past. You follow, Because what else can you do? The shadows beneath seem to retreat, or perhaps they were never there. Perhaps the cold and the night simply play tricks on weary eyes. Historians still debate whether mammoths had specific migration paths memorized across generations, or whether each crossing was a new gamble, a fresh reading of the landscape. Watching this matriarch tonight, you'd bet on memory. Every pause, every turn of her massive head feels like a calculation: where to step, where to lead, where to survive. The wind rises again, brushing powdery snow across the ice, and the shadows vanish entirely. The river lies still buried under its frozen mask. The mammoth's breath comes in great clouds, now mingling with the swirling snow. The calf stumbles once, but recovers quickly, its confidence growing with every cautious step. You realize with a strange swell of pride that you too have made it farther than you thought you would. An odd fact comes to mind, perhaps brought on by the strangeness of the scene. In some Arctic cultures, people believed certain animals' spirits could walk beneath the ice, guiding the living from below. You glance down again, half expecting to see the antlered ghost of a caribou or the dark bulk of an ancient bear keeping pace beneath your feet. But there is nothing now, just ice and the dark river trapped beneath. The night deepens. The cold tightens its grip, and the far bank remains a mystery hidden in the gloom. But the matriarch moves steadily forward, and so does the herd. So do you. The ice sings its low, mournful song, and the shadows beneath stay hidden, waiting for the thaw that will set them free. The snow begins to fall in earnest now, soft and steady, like a blanket lowered by invisible hands. Each flake lands soundlessly, as if the world itself has decided to hush and listen. The mammoths move through the curtain of white with a dignity that makes your own clumsy trudge feel even more absurd. The herd's immense forms blur at the edges, becoming ghostly silhouettes in the snowfall, their shapes merging with the night. It's remarkable how quiet it all is. The crunch of your boots is muffled. The groans of the ice beneath the mammoth's weight grow distant and dreamy. Even your own breath seems reluctant to disturb the hush, each exhale lost in the snow-choked air. Historians still debate whether early humans timed their movements or hunts for nights like this night's, when snow smothered sound, when predators and prey both moved unseen, unheard. You imagine the advantage: your footsteps hidden, your scent masked the night, your ally instead of your doom. The calf walks with more confidence now, following in its mother's tracks as though the snow's silence lends it courage. The little one's woolly coat is dusted white, and the frost clings to its lashes like tiny jewels. You'd almost laugh at the sight if your own face weren't so numb. You're not sure your lips would move the way you want them to. A snowflake lands on your cheek and melts instantly, a tiny defiant reminder that under all this cold, you're still warm-blooded, barely. Your fingers are stiff, your toes long past feeling, but the far shore calls to you, a promise of solid ground, of shelter, of survival. The mammoths, for their part, seem unbothered. Snow layers their backs, clings to their flanks, frosts their tusks, and they walk on as if the storm were nothing more than a passing thought. Did you know mammoth hair wasn't just thick, but also oily, designed by nature to repel snow and water? While you shiver in your damp clothes, they stride through the blizzard in what amounts to the ultimate winter armor. The snow piles up on their backs, sure, but it never soaks through. You can almost hear the cold laughing at you in comparison. Your eyes sting from the wind-driven snow, and for a moment you have to stop shielding your face with a gloved hand. The world narrows to the whiteness, the blurred shapes of mammoths ahead, the soft hiss of falling snow. It feels like you could vanish here, swallowed by the storm, and no one would ever know. The ice beneath your feet creaks, reminding you that standing still too long isn't an option. The matriarch raises her trunk, sweeping it through the air as if testing the storm's mood. Then she moves on, steady as ever, and the herd follows. The calf is close by her side now, no longer distracted by shadows or unsure footing. The storm has taught it focus. Maybe it's teaching you the same. Historians still debate whether mammoth migrations were driven primarily by food scarcity, climate shifts, or ancient memory. Out here, with the snow falling and the cold biting deep, it feels like it's all of the above and something more. A pull you can't explain, a need to move forward, to cross, to endure. The mammoths feel it. You feel it. Even the river beneath the ice seems to feel it, its silent current urging you on. An odd thought flits through your frozen brain. Did you know? Snowflakes, when magnified, reveal no two are alike. But that's only partly true. In certain conditions, identical crystals do form, if only briefly. Tonight, the snow seems determined to blanket the world in sameness. The mammoths, the ice, the river, even you, all blurred by the falling white, part of the same vast, silent migration. You glance back once, though you know you shouldn't. The trail behind is already vanishing, swallowed by the snow. Your footprints, the mammoth's deep tracks, the faint lines of cracked ice, all disappearing, as if none of you were ever here. The storm claims everything. Only the moving survive. The silence deepens. Even the ice seems to hold its breath. The mammoths keep going, their shapes fading and reappearing in the snowfall. The matriarch leads with unshakable purpose, her cracked tusks gleaming with frost. The calf stays close, learning step by step what it means to cross a world that wants to erase you. And you follow, because stopping isn't an option. The far bank is out there somewhere, and you will reach it, or the snow will claim you too. The matriarch's cracked tusk catches the moonlight for a moment, a flash of silver against the swirling dark, and then disappears again into the snow's soft shroud. You keep your eyes on it, that gleaming curve of ancient ivory like a beacon, leading the way across this endless frozen plain. Every scar along that tusk tells a story of battles fought, trees uprooted, ice tested. The crack that runs through its base is wide enough to fit your hand into a wound from some long-ago struggle. But the mammoth bears it with the kind of dignity only age and survival can bestow. Historians still debate whether mammoths with damaged tusks held special status in the herd, symbols of resilience, or whether they were simply the veterans of too many hard winters. Looking at the matriarch tonight, it's easy to believe she's both a survivor and a guide, her cracked tusk a map of lessons learned. The storm softens now, as if the night itself has grown weary. The snow falls more gently, the winds bite dull to a mere whisper against your cheek. The herd presses on the matriarch, moving with deliberate care, each step placed where the ice is thickest, strongest. You realize she isn't just crossing, she's remembering. Each pause, each shift of her massive feet seems to draw on some deep well of knowledge passed down through generations. You wonder how many crossings she's led, how many times she's felt the ice flex beneath her weight and trusted it to hold. An odd fact floats through your frozen thoughts. Some scientists believe mammoth tusks grew in spirals that could be read like tree rings, revealing seasons of plenty and of hardship. If only you could trace your fingers along that cracked ivory. Maybe you could learn her story. Maybe you could see the years when the ice came early or when the grasslands failed. Maybe you'd understand how she knows where to place her feet tonight. The calf stays close, now tucked against her side, the lesson of the storm not forgotten. It glances up at her trunk, brushing against her leg, seeking comfort or perhaps just the reassurance of touch. The cracked tusk swings gently as the matriarch tests the ice ahead, a silent question asked and apparently answered. She steps forward and the herd follows, and you follow them, because to stray from the path she marks would be madness. Historians still debate whether these great migrations were driven by instinct or memory. Watching the matriarch tonight, you're convinced it's both a map written not on paper but in the curve of a tusk, the placement of a foot, the unspoken language of survival. The ice beneath you groans softly, a long, low note that fades into the night. The river remembers too. It remembers the weight of mammoths, the passing of seasons, the promise of spring thaws that will shatter this frozen bridge. But not tonight. Tonight, the ice holds. You blink as a flake lands on your eyelashes, melts, and runs down your cheek like a tear. The cold blurs everything, softens. Edges makes the world feel like a dream you're struggling to stay inside of. You glance at the matriarch again at that cracked tusk and feel oddly grateful. Grateful for her strength, her memory, her quiet leadership. Grateful that for now you're part of this ancient crossing. And then something catches your eye, just a flicker of movement at the edge of your vision. You turn half expecting to see a predator lurking, but there's nothing there. Only snow ice and the shadows of the past moving with you across the frozen river. The wind sharpens its edge once more, slicing through your layers like a knife that's grown tired of playing nice. It creeps down your collar, finds the gaps between your mittens and sleeves, and settles into your bones with a cold so pure it feels personal. The mammoths don't flinch. Their great coats ripple slightly, their heads lower against the gusts, but they keep moving. You hunch your shoulders, trying and failing not to feel like the softest creature on the ice tonight. Historians still debate whether Ice Age winds were stronger and more relentless than those of today, or if it's simply the memory of bitter nights like this that makes us think so. Either way, this wind feels like it's been blowing since the dawn of time, and it has no intention of stopping for the likes of you. It carries with it the scent of cold stone, frozen earth, and somewhere beneath it all, the faint tang of a mammoth musk. You can almost taste it, metallic and wild, a reminder that this is their world you're just passing through. Ahead, the matriarch pauses at a patch where the ice thins near a curve in the river. Her trunk hovers above the surface, tracing invisible patterns as she tests the air and the ice. The calf shuffles closer, its woolly sides pressed to hers. You follow their lead, stepping where they step, hoping the ice doesn't decide to give up just yet. The river groans again, deeper. This time, a sound that seems to rise from the very center of the earth. The mammoths don't react. You, however, jump so hard you nearly slip. You mutter something under your breath that's thankfully lost in the wind. The cold really is making a fool of you tonight. Did you know that small creatures often followed mammoth herds, eking out a living on what they disturbed or left behind? Mice, birds, even Arctic foxes sometimes trailed at a distance, hoping for scraps. Tonight, as the snow thins for a moment, you spot tiny tracks weaving between the mammoth prints, a brave little rodent on its own kind of migration. It pauses near your boot whiskers, twitching before darting into a drift, vanishing like a ghost. The wind howls across the ice, a sound so desolate it makes your chest ache. The mammoths press on, heads down, eyes narrowed against the blast. You squint ahead and see the faintest outline of the far bank, closer now, but still shrouded in the storm's veil. The matriarch leads the way, each step deliberate, her cracked tusk glinting with frost. The calf follows its steps, steadier now, its confidence growing with every yard of ice behind it. Historians still debate whether mammoths altered their pace in harsh weather, speeding up to escape storms or slowing down to conserve energy. Tonight, the pace is steady, unhurried. The matriarch seems to know that this is no night for rushing. Every step must be right. Every choice matters. The wind shifts again, carrying with it a new scent. Pine smoke, faint and fleeting. Your eyes scan the snowy darkness until they catch a shape half buried at the river's edge, a tangle of sticks bone and something that glints like metal. The remains of an old hunter's camp. You wonder how long it's been abandoned. A season. A lifetime. The storm is erasing it piece by piece, the snow claiming what the ice could not. A scrap of leather flaps weakly in the wind, a last protest before it too is buried. You don't linger. The mammoths move on, and so do you, because the wind doesn't care about your curiosity. The cold deepens, and the river hums its ancient tune beneath your feet. The far bank is out there waiting. All you have to do is keep moving. You drift past the hunter's camp, now its scattered bones and broken tools half swallowed by drifts of snow. The mammoths barely give it a glance if they even notice at all. To them, it's just another ruin in a world littered with the remnants of those who couldn't endure. You, on the other hand, can't help but stare. A shattered spear lies at an odd angle, the shaft splintered. The stone tip cracked down the middle. You wonder what happened here. A failed hunt? A hasty retreat? Or perhaps just the slow, inevitable defeat at the hands of this relentless cold? Historians still debate whether ancient hunters followed mammoth migrations for generations, or if their encounters were rare and opportunistic. Looking at the scene before you, it's easy to believe both. The camp feels old but not ancient. Someone stood here once thinking they could outwit the ice, the wind, and these great beasts. Someone who left behind only scraps and silence. The mammoth matriarch doesn't break stride. Her cracked tusk sweeps low as if clearing the path not just of snow, but of the memory of that camp. The calf stays close at her flank, no longer distracted by shadows or curious scents. It has learned, as you have, that to survive this crossing, one must focus on what lies ahead. The ice beneath you hums again, a deep, mournful sound that seems to echo from another age. You imagine the river itself remembering all the feet that have passed this way, mammoth, human, predator, prey. The storm has eased, but the cold remains sharp as broken glass. Your breath clouds the air in front of you and you tuck your hands deeper into your sleeves, feeling the bite of the wind, even through your thick gloves. The mammoths seem immune, their shaggy coats now dusted in a fine layer of snow that makes them look like moving statues carved from frost and time. You try not to envy them, but it's hard not to. Your toes are numb, your face raw, and your courage worn thin. Did you know? Ancient hunters sometimes left offerings at river crossings. Bones, carved stones, bits of antler as if trying to bargain with the ice. You glance once more at the camp's remains and wonder if that's what you're seeing an offering, or the debris of desperation. Either way, the snow will claim it soon. Already the shapes are blurring, edges softened, the scene fading like a half-remembered dream. The matriarch leads the herd onto a broader stretch of ice now. The river widens here, the ice groaning under their weight but holding for now. The calf hesitates at the edge, ears flapping, but the mother pauses, waits, and the little one gathers itself and steps forward. Its trust in her is absolute, and it follows where she leads without looking back. You do the same because at this point, there's nothing left to go back to anyway. Historians still debate whether mammoth herds had designated leaders, or if guidance shifted with the needs of the journey. Watching the matriarch tonight, it seems obvious leadership isn't about dominance. It's about memory, about knowing the ice, the river, the way. You hope in your own clumsy way that you're learning too. The far bank is closer now, but still shrouded in mist and snow. The ice beneath your feet feels thinner somehow, as if the river knows the end is near and resents letting you go. The mammoths press on their great shape steady and sure, the matriarch's cracked tusk pointing the way like a compass fashioned from bone and time. The night deepens, and the world narrows to snow ice, and the slow, silent migration across a frozen river that seems to stretch into forever. The ice groans louder now, as if the river itself has grown weary of carrying the weight of giants. You feel it in your boots, a deep vibration that hums up through your bones and makes your teeth ache. The mammoths reach the broadest stretch of the river, a frozen sea of glass and snow, and for the first time tonight you see the matriarch hesitate. Her cracked tusk sweeps wide, tracing the air like a divining rod, and the herd slows behind her, the calf pressing so close to her flank it could disappear beneath that curtain of shaggy hair. Historians still debate whether mammoth herds understood the risks of river ice, or if their caution was just the byproduct of instinct sharpened by survival. Watching the matriarch tonight, you can't help but believe there's more to it, some ancient wisdom etched into the bones of these creatures passed down through crossings long forgotten by humankind. She knows. She must know. Because one wrong step now wouldn't just mean danger, it would mean disaster. You glance down at the ice and see it there clear as breath on a mirror, cracks long and slender snaking out from beneath the weight of the herd. They spread in slow motion as if reluctant to betray the giants above. The ice sings a strange, sad song, the notes low and drawn out like a whale's call beneath the sea. You wonder if the river mourns the crossing or if it merely waits for its chance to reclaim the world above. The calf lifts one foot, places it down again, then freezes trunk raised as if asking for guidance. The matriarch answers not with sound, but with movement, a slow, deliberate step forward onto thicker ice. The calf follows. The herd follows. And so, of course, do you, because what else is there to do? You try not to look at the cracks spreading beneath you, try not to hear the ice's warning, but it's impossible not to. Did you know that ice under extreme pressure can flex rather than break up to a point that knowledge doesn't comfort you tonight? The river's skin is stretched tight and you can feel every subtle shift, every soft tremor as the mammoths move across it. You realize with a grim sort of amusement that you're holding your breath as if that tiny bit of weight might tip the balance. You exhale slowly, watching the mist of it swirl away on the breeze. The snowy owl appears then silent, as a ghost gliding low over the ice before settling on a drift near the river's edge. Its yellow eyes catch the moonlight twin flames in the dark. It watches not you, not the mammoths, but the night itself as if waiting for something only it can see. Historians still debate whether ancient people saw owls as omens of doom or guardians of the lost. Tonight, the owl feels like both. You keep walking, your boots crunching softly in the shallow snow atop the ice. The mammoths move ahead, the matriarch leading them toward a distant rise that must mark the far bank. The cracks beneath your feet seem to grow quieter now, or maybe you're just too numb to notice. The ice holds. For now, the owl lifts off again, wings wide and soundless, and disappears into the storm. You glance after it, then back at the mammoths, and feel for just a moment like you're part of something older than memory. A silent migration across a frozen world that has seen the rise and fall of countless creatures before you. And will see countless more when you're gone. The snowy owl reappears as if summoned by your thoughts, gliding low and silent, its wings outstretched like pale sails against the endless dark. It lands on a drift not far from the herd talons, sinking into the crust of snow as if anchoring itself to the frozen world. It stares with those unblinking golden eyes, not at you, not at the mammoths, but at something only it seems to understand. The owl is a witness tonight, a keeper of secrets, a sentinel of the ice. You follow its gaze instinctively, half expecting to see some hidden danger. But no, only the herd moving steadily across the frozen river. Their shapes softened by falling snow. Their breath rising in great clouds that catch the moonlight like smoke. The matriarch's cracked tusk gleams faintly as she leads them, each step measured. Each foot placed with the care of one who knows that the ice remembers every mistake. Historians still debate whether snowy owls shadowed herds like these for practical reasons, seeking small prey disturbed by the mammoth's passing, or if ancient humans saw them as something more, messengers, omens, or watchers sent by the spirits of the land. Tonight, the owl feels like all of those things and none. It simply is as much a part of this crossing as the mammoths, the ice, and the wind. The ice beneath your boots hums again, a soft, mournful note that rises and falls like a breath. The cracks are still there, spreading quietly, invisibly, a reminder that this crossing is a gamble every step of the way. You watch as the matriarch pauses at a place where the ice seems thinner, where the snow has drifted light and sparse. She tests it with a tap of her tusk, then steps carefully forward. The calf stays close, learning by watching, by feeling, by listening to the ice's subtle voice. Did you know snowy owls have feathers right down to their toes? A perfect adaptation to life on the tundra? As you stamp your feet to fight the creeping numbness, you can't help but envy that design. The owl shifts on its perch, fluffing its feathers against the cold, utterly at ease in a world that feels like it's trying to freeze you solid. It lifts off again with barely a sound, ghosting across the ice and disappearing into the night as if it were never there. The herd reaches a massive boulder embedded mid-river, a crossing stone black against the white. The matriarch circles it, brushing it with her flank as though greeting an old friend. Historians still debate whether mammoths used such landmarks, deliberately returning to the same stones year after year as guides on their migrations. Tonight it seems certain. The matriarch lingers here, resting briefly, the cracked tusk scraping gently against the rock's frozen surface. You pause, too grateful for the brief shelter from the wind, leaning against the stone as the mammoths press on. The calf touches its trunk to the rock, mimicking its mother, leaving a faint smudge of warmth on the cold stone. You wonder how many calves have done the same across how many winters. The ice sings again, the song of the river beneath, patient and powerful. The matriarch moves on her herd in tow, the far bank growing ever closer. And you follow as the owl's absence leaves the night feeling somehow emptier, lonelier, but no less determined. The mammoths move on, leaving the ancient crossing stone behind, its dark bulk swallowed slowly by the falling snow. You step away from it reluctantly, feeling as if you're abandoning the only solid certainty in this shifting, frozen world. The ice beneath your feet hums softly, a low vibration that feels like the river reminding you the crossing is not over, not yet. The matriarch leads with the same deliberate grace, her cracked tusk glistening with a delicate frosting of snow and ice. It swings gently with each step as if drawing an invisible line across the river, marking the safe path. The calf keeps pace, its small trunk brushing the air, testing the scents and the cold. There's a determination in its step now that wasn't there earlier. A quiet confidence born of watching, learning, and surviving. Historians still debate whether such crossing stones served as consistent waypoints for mammoth migrations, or if they were simply chance features of the landscape noticed and remembered by luck. Looking at the matriarch tonight, pausing, touching the rock with her tusk before moving on, you can't help but believe these stones mattered. They marked not just the land but the memory of those who had passed this way before. The ice spreads wide ahead, a vast plain of white and silver beneath the moon's pale gaze. The wind stills for a while, and in the quiet you can hear the river's voice beneath you, a deep, slow gurgle like a giant breathing in its sleep. The mammoth's feet thud softly on the ice, the sound muffled by fresh snow. You follow in their tracks, stepping where they step, hoping their knowledge can shield you from the hidden dangers below. An odd fact drifts through your mind, perhaps brought on by the eerie stillness. Some believe that certain stones in Ice Age landscapes bore carvings, simple marks left by humans, or perhaps even scratched by passing mammoths themselves, a kind of accidental communication between species. You glance back once at the boulder, half expecting to see runes or grooves in its frozen surface, but the snow has claimed it now, and its secrets will have to wait for the thaw. The matriarch pauses again, trunk raised, sniffing at the air as if testing for scents you can't detect. The calf mimics her, its small trunk curling skyward. The herd forms a loose line behind them, their massive shapes blending into the snowy dark. You follow because there is no other choice. The river stretches on, and the far bank remains a promise just out of reach. Historians still debate whether mammoths could sense thin ice through vibrations, or whether they relied entirely on sight and experience. Tonight, the matriarch seems to have an unspoken dialogue with the ice itself. Her steps are careful, sure, measured by some wisdom you can only hope to understand. The cold is relentless. Your breath comes in short, misting puffs. Your fingers are stiff, your feet nearly numb. But the herd presses on, and so do you, drawn forward by the silent rhythm of their march across the frozen river. The ice beneath you hums and groans, but it holds for now. The calf's steps are stronger now, its small feet finding the firm places where the matriarch's prints mark the path across the ice. It no longer hesitates with each stride. It moves with purpose, head held higher trunk, swaying with the rhythm of the herd. You watch it and feel an unexpected warmth, a flicker of pride, as if you too had some small part in this silent lesson of survival. The river's crossing is a school without words, and tonight the calf has passed its first test. The matriarch glances back once her cracked tusk gleaming pale in the moonlight. Maybe she's checking on the calf, or maybe she's checking on you. Either way, it feels like an acknowledgement you've kept up this far. The herd moves as one now, their shapes dark and solid against the endless white, each step steady despite the ice's quiet protest beneath them. Historians still debate whether mammoth calves learned the safest crossings through observation alone, or whether subtle tamemaya cues, rumbling sounds, gentle nudges helped guide them. Tonight it seems clear learning happens with every step, every shiver of the ice, every whisper of the wind. The calf leans into its mother's flank trunk, brushing her leg in a gesture that says everything words could not. The ice stretches ahead, vast and unbroken, save for faint cracks that spider out beneath your feet and theirs. The moonlight catches on these lines, turning them into veins of silver threading through the blue-white sheet. The river hums beneath as it has all night, a low, endless murmur like the world itself breathing in its sleep. Did you know that mammoth calves were born into freezing winds and deep snow and could stand within hours of birth? No coddling. No gentle start, just straight into the cold and the hard business of surviving. The calf tonight is living proof of that ancient resilience, its coat thick with frost and snow, its legs steady despite the ice's treachery. The wind picks up again, carrying with it the scent of pine, distant and faint. The far bank is closer now. You can see the dark line of trees rising against the horizon. The calf spots it, two ears perked, trunk lifted as if to greet the promise of solid ground. The matriarch gives a low, almost inaudible rumble, and the calf quickens its pace, confidence blooming with every step. Historians still debate whether mammoth herds quickened their crossing when land came into view, or whether they kept to a steady rhythm no matter how close safety seemed. Tonight, the herd's pace is unchanged, measured, deliberate, as if they know the ice is at its most dangerous just before the end. You take another step, matching the calf's stride as best you can, and feel the ice flex beneath your boot. It holds, just barely. The moon slips behind a veil of cloud and the world dims. But the herd moves forward, the calf beside its mother, no longer a timid follower, but a part of the great silent march across the river of ice. And you follow too, because the far bank is calling, and there's no turning back now. The night is shattered by a sound you've dreaded since the first step onto this frozen river. A loud, sharp crack that echoes across the ice like the world itself splitting in two. The noise ricochets off the cliffs and trees in the distance, a jagged note that makes your heart leap into your throat. The mammoths stop as one, their massive forms frozen in place, ears, swiveling trunks lifted. The calf presses tight against its mother's side. Small body trembling, the confidence of moments ago washed away in a wave of primal fear. You don't move either, not a muscle. The crack was close. Too close. The ice beneath your boots feels different now. Thinner somehow, as if the river beneath has woken up and decided it no longer wants you here. You glance down and see it, a fresh fissure slicing its way across the ice, narrow but growing a dark line against the pale sheet that stretches from the herd's path toward the far bank. Historians still debate whether mammoths could sense these fractures before they formed, or whether their reactions were as instinctive as yours, pure survival etched into their bones. Tonight, you're convinced they know somehow. The matriarch lowers her trunk, brushing it along the ice as if asking it to hold just a little longer. The herd stands silent. The only sound now the faint hiss of wind over snow. Then slowly, deliberately, the matriarch takes a step, testing, measuring, trusting in ancient memory or sheer necessity. The ice groans in protest but holds. She takes another step and the herd begins to follow, moving as one as if any hesitation would let the crack catch them. The calf is glued to her side now, no longer curious, no longer learning, just surviving. Did you know that ice sheets on great rivers sometimes flex and ripple under massive weight before they fail completely? You feel that flex now, a subtle rise and fall beneath your boots, like standing on a giant's chest as it breathes. The ice is alive tonight, and it is not happy. You move because you have to. Each step feels like it might be your last safe one. You place your feet where the mammoths did, trusting their ancient wisdom. The crack spreads behind you, slow but relentless, a dark reminder that the river will not bear this weight forever. Historians still debate whether mammoth herds ever turned back from crossings gone wrong, or if retreat was too dangerous, too slow, too uncertain. The matriarch shows no sign of turning. Her cracked tusk points forward toward the far bank that is so close now you can see the outlines of trees, the slope of solid ground. She knows there's no going back, only forward. The ice moans again, louder this time, a sound that vibrates in your bones and makes your teeth ache. The herd quickens its pace just slightly, no panic, just urgency. The calf stumbles, once recovers, pushes onward, driven by its mother's example, by the pull of land, by the need to escape this fragile, treacherous bridge. And you match their stride breath. Shallow boots slipping now and then on the ice that flexes beneath you. The crack chases you, a dark seam in a world of white. But the far bank is there waiting if you can just make it before the river decides it's had enough. The herd moves faster now, still not a stampede, not chaos, but a determined surge toward safety. You can feel it in the air. A kind of electric tension, as if even the snowflakes hesitate to fall, watching this final push. The matriarch leads with unwavering focus, her cracked tusk cutting through the mist like a pale banner. The calf stays tight to her side, its small legs working double time, driven by instinct, by fear, by the silent promise of the far bank. Your boots slip on a patch of bare ice and your heart leaps into your throat. You throw out your arms for balance, nearly losing your footing entirely. But somehow you recover, breath-ragged legs shaking. You glance at the ice below and see the dark crack spreading, still racing toward the shore, as if the river is determined to claim something, anything, before it loses its grip on this frozen moment. Historians still debate whether mammoths in situations like this would have tried to protect their young by surrounding them, or whether the best defense was simply to move to reach solid ground before disaster struck. Watching tonight's scene, it's clear the matriarch's strategy is simple and ancient. Lead. Don't stop. Trust the ice as long as it holds, and when it fails, be past it already. The groans of the ice are louder now, a chorus of protest beneath the weight of giants. You can feel the flex and bow with each step. The subtle rise and fall that tells you the river beneath is waking up, reminding you that this bridge was never meant to last. The far bank is so close now, you can see the individual trees, their trunks dark against the snow, the slope of the land promising safety, shelter, and the end of this perilous crossing. Did you know that in some ancient traditions, rivers were seen as thresholds between worlds, the living and the dead, the known and the unknown? Tonight it feels true. This frozen river is a liminal space, a line between survival and loss, between what was and what will be. And you are walking that line, every step a gamble. The mammoths break onto the far bank one by one, their massive feet sinking into the snowdrifts at the river's edge. The matriarch is first, her cracked tusk glinting with frost and moonlight, as she leads her herd onto solid ground. The calf follows, stumbling up the slight rise, then pausing to look back once at the river it has conquered. The herd regroups, their shapes dark and immense against the trees, waiting for the last of their number to cross. And you are nearly there? The ice sings its final warning beneath your feet, a long shuddering note that seems to say, hurry. You step onto snow-covered earth, heart-pounding, legs weak with relief. Behind you, the ice sighs one last time, the crack widening the river, reclaiming its domain. But you and the mammoths have made it. The crossing is done. The first rays of dawn creep over the horizon, their soft pink light filtering through the trees and spilling across the snow. The wind has stilled at last, and the night storm lies in drifts and sculpted shapes, quiet and still. You turn and look back at the river, half expecting to see the path you took, the deep prints of mammoth feet, your own meandering trail. But the snow has done its work. All trace of the crossing is gone. The ice, fractured and groaning only hours ago, now lies smooth and unbroken under its fresh blanket, as if none of it ever happened. The mammoths gather at the tree line, the matriarch standing tall, her cracked tusk catching the first true light of morning. She surveys the land ahead, her breath a steady plume in the cold air. The calf leans into her, exhausted but safe, its woolly coat still dusted with frost. The herd shifts quietly behind them, their massive forms blending with the shadowed forest. There is no celebration, no triumph, only the simple fact of survival, which is enough. Historians still debate whether mammoths understood the significance of these river crossings in the way we might a challenge met a danger overcome, or whether it was simply part of the long, endless rhythm of migration. But as you stand there watching the herd fade into the trees, you sense something deeper. The crossing was more than just getting from one side to the other. It was memory, instinct, and resilience woven into every step. The owl returns one last time, gliding low and silent across the river, as if sealing the passage with its flight. It lands briefly on a snow-laden branch, eyes like molten gold in the dawn light, before lifting off again and vanishing into the brightening sky. You feel as though the river, the ice, and the creatures that crossed it are now part of some shared secret, a story written in frost and silence. Did you know? Fresh snow can absorb sound so effectively that it creates what scientists call a sound shadow. That's what you feel now. The world hushed, the ice's song ended, the crossing complete. The mammoth's tracks are gone, and soon the herd itself will be nothing but a memory in the morning mist. And you take one last look at the frozen river, at the smooth, unbroken surface that betrayed no sign of its treachery. Then you turn, following the mammoths into the trees, your breath mingling with theirs in the cold morning air. The crossing is done. The journey continues. The silent migration of mammoths across the frozen river unfolded under a bruised twilight sky and a watchful moon. You walked among them, following their lead as they tested the ice, trusted in ancient memory, and pressed on despite the cold and danger. Each section of the journey revealed the quiet wisdom of the matriarch, her cracked tusk a symbol of survival, and the calf's growth from trembling steps to confident stride. The storm, the shadows beneath the ice, the mournful groans of the river, all were part of the passage through this liminal space. A snowy owl kept silent watch, a reminder that the world was full of unseen witnesses. When the ice finally fractured, it was the mammoth's determination that carried them and you to safety. By dawn, the river erased all trace of the crossing, as if the night's peril had been only a dream. The herd moved on, leaving behind a story that lived only in the hush of snow and the memory of those who followed. The journey ends, but its quiet power lingers, soft as the falling snow.